Hey everyone, you're listening to Hoosier Heroes, brought to you by the Times of Northwest Indiana at nwi.com/podcast. This is your host, Andrew Hasty, and this is episode number 3. So if you haven't listened to episodes 1 or 2, go back and give them a listen. We have a special treat for all of you this week. Our guest is a Northwest Indiana and Chicago native, Sergeant Alan Lynch of the United States Army. Sergeant Lynch received the Medal of Honor for his actions during the Vietnam War. For those of you who aren't familiar with the award, it is the highest possible award that can be given to a member of the United States military. Only a relatively small population of military members have received it, and even fewer are still living. In fact, you'll find that a number of recipients have received the Medal of Honor posthumously, meaning they died before it could be awarded. So before we begin and get Sergeant Lynch's personal account of that day, I would like to read the citation. It reads as follows. For conspicuous gallantry and intrepidity in action at the risk of his life above and beyond the call of duty, Sergeant Lynch distinguished himself while serving as a radio telephone operator with Company D. While serving in the forward element on an operation near the village of My An, his unit became heavily engaged with a numerically superior enemy force. Quickly and accurately assessing the situation, Sergeant Lynch provided his commander with information which subsequently proved essential to the unit's successful actions. Observing 3 wounded comrades laying exposed to enemy fire, Sergeant Lynch dashed across 50 meters of open ground through a withering hail of enemy fire to administer aid. Reconnoitering a nearby trench for a covered position to protect the wounded from intense hostile fire, he killed 2 enemy soldiers at point-blank range. With the trench cleared, he unhesitatingly returned to the fire-swept area 3 times to carry the wounded men to safety. When his company was forced to withdraw by the superior firepower of the enemy, Sergeant Lynch remained to aid his comrades at the risk of his life rather than abandon them. Alone, he defended his isolated position for 2 hours against the advancing enemy. Using only his rifle and a grenade, he stopped them just short of his trench, killing 5. Again, disregarding his safety in the face of withering hostile fire, he crossed 70 meters of exposed terrain 5 times to carry his wounded comrades to a more secure area. Once he had assured their comfort and safety, Sergeant Lynch located the counterattacking friendly company to assist in directing the attack and evacuating the 3 casualties. His gallantry at the risk of his life is in the highest traditions of the military service. Sergeant Lynch has reflected great credit on himself, the 12th Cavalry, and the United States Army. So with that in mind, we're going to go ahead and jump right into the podcast. I hope you all enjoy it. It's a pretty rare opportunity to get to meet, let alone talk to and interview a Medal of Honor recipient. I hope you enjoy his story, and enjoy. I'm here with my very special guest, Mr. Alan Lynch. Al's an Army veteran from the Vietnam era. You're originally from Illinois, but you spent some time in Indiana.
I went to grade school in junior high. Back then we had junior high. Went to grade school at Union Center, and then junior high at Wheeler.
Okay.
It used to be a high school. I don't know if it still is, but it was a high school, junior high school.
I think
combined.
they might still have a high school out there. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
But now you're living in the Chicago area.
I live in Gurnee, Illinois.
Okay.
On the north side, just a little bit below the Cheddar Curtain.
Okay, so how many years did you spend in the Army?
I spent 4.5 on active, and then I spent 21 in the Reserve Guard program. I retired as a first sergeant.
Wow. So during your 4 years active, you did one tour or 2 tours to Vietnam?
I went 1 tour to Vietnam. I spent about 1.5 years in Germany. I was in what we called the zone back then. Mm-hmm. Germany was divided, so I was in West Germany for about 9 months or so. Then I took a short enlistment for Berlin, and then I spent just about 1 year in Berlin, mm-hmm. which I really loved. It was West Berlin, and I got to look into East Berlin and see what communism was all about.
Oh, wow.
It was like kind of looking from Middle Earth into Mordor.
So you are a Medal of Honor recipient.
Right.
One of, I think the number's about 3,500 right now?
Yeah.
Current?
Yeah, it's about, I think it's right around, I want to say 39 something.
Okay.
There's only, I think, 76 of us alive right now.
Wow.
And most of those are World War II and Korean War veterans that are getting up in years, and then there's a lot of Vietnam vets, and then some of the guys from your era.
Yeah. Yeah, there's quite a few out there from the OEF, OIF generation.
Yeah.
So, if you don't mind, how about you take us back to the day that you earned the medal? What exactly was the scenario?
Well, we had been out in the field for quite a long time.
Mm-hmm.
We went up to Dak To, I think, and I'm writing my biography now, so it's kind of funny. I don't know if it happened to you, but everything kind of shortens itself and then it lengthens itself.
Yeah.
Because I remember things that happened, and it seems like we were out in the field for like 3 or 4 months.
Yeah.
And it was actually probably about more like 4 weeks.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, that happens. Yeah, it's happened to me a couple times where it's just that recollection. It doesn't always. Sometimes you have to kind of sit down and think about it, write it out, and new stuff comes to memory. Like, oh my gosh, yeah, that happened.
Reading the after action reports, I'm going, man, I thought I had my R&R in like May or June or July, and no, it was August. And
yeah.
Well, that means that we were in Dak To for August or September, and then we came back and it's just very weird. But I from what I'm remembering and what I'm reading, we were out in the field in constant contact for about 3-4 weeks.
Oh, wow.
And we were having firefights almost every day. We were doing a lot of ambush patrols and what we called hunter-killer teams, where we would go out and try to catch Charlie sneaking around at night. We were basically trying to out-Charlie Charlie. So we'd set up our night ambushes and wait for them to come diddy-bopping along a trail, which is surprisingly what they did sometimes.
Yeah.
So we had gotten pulled back to the rear LZ English for some R&R stand down, clean your weapons and get new things replaced, new fatigues because they were getting a little bit funky, and get a nice shower and some good food and all that, and then go downtown and enjoy ourselves down there. So we had gotten back, it was in the morning, and we had done all the stand down stuff that you're supposed to do, and got downtown and got a haircut and our ears clean, which is what we always did with you get all that gunk in it with the choppers coming in and the dust and all that.
Yeah.
And then we had a few drinks and came back to LZ English and were told to get into a briefing real quick. They gave us a warning order that 0:30 the next morning we're going to air assault out and into a village. Seems A company of our battalion had walked into an ambush, and we were going to hit Charlie in the NVA. I think it was the 22nd VC and the 9th NVA. We were going to hit them at their flank. A company had them locked in combat. I think they were heading north to south, and the VC had ambushed them close to the South China Sea. So we were going to come in and hit them on the flank and take the pressure off, and then try to keep them in the box, keep them in the kill box, and then do our thing.
Yeah. What
we didn't know is we walked into an ambush. That A company was the bait. And so as we came around to hit them on the flank, we walked into kind of a checkerboard. The way it was described, it was like a checkerboard ambush, where you play tic-tac-toe.
Yeah.
Okay. We walked into one of those little boxes.
Okay.
And they waited until we got nicely into it, and then they hit us. And so we had they were in spider holes and hooches and all over the place.
Yeah.
And so we started, had our little firefight going on. One of the guys that was walking point, we had a 2-man point.
Okay.
And one of the guys that was walking point got hit real bad. And so his partner came back and got shot halfway out trying to get back. So I went out and I grabbed him and pulled him in. And he said, I think his name was Casaro, said both of his shins hit pretty good. They walked into a machine gun, and evidently it was knee high.
Oh, wow.
So he come running back, and he said, he can't move. He's pretty bad wounded. So I went out. I was RTO. I had a Prick 25 I carried.
I don't mean to interrupt, but what's a I know what an RTO is, but
radio telephone operator.
Radio telephone operator.
I basically walked behind the lieutenant, and I was where he was kind of a target. I was kind of the target because I had a big radio and a big whip antenna up in the air, and all that, with a little sign that said "Shoot me, shoot me."
Yeah. Yeah, I know how that is.
So I dropped my radio. I asked my LT, it was brand new that day, Lieutenant Sutherland, if I could go out and get him. And I thought, I'll go out, I'll grab him, I'll be right back. Well, I got out there and we got pinned down. I mean, the intensity of the fire just heated up.
Yeah.
So I was going to move him. All of a sudden, I think his name was Sparza, comes running across and got shot part way out. And I'm telling from what I remember of it.
Yeah.
The citation reads different, and I've read all the write-ups on it,
Yeah.
but I don't remember it that way. So I'm just going to tell you what I remember.
That's perfectly fine too. Yeah.
I went out and I got him because he got shot halfway as he was coming towards us.
Okay.
So I went out and I grabbed him. I got him in the hole with us, and we're laying there. And he had already been shot, I think, in the leg or in the arm or something. But then he got shot again as we're laying in this trench. So they tried to back a track up an APC to get to us, armored personnel carrier. What the idea was is they had the back lowered.
Yeah.
And they were just going to back it up. We'd throw them in. We'd move. Well, no, unbeknownst to them and us, there was a gun set up that a recoilless rifle, and they took out the APC, and that got towed away.
Yeah.
And then our unit withdrew, and they call it airstrikes and artillery and all of that. Continuous artillery from the different LZs. So they kind of one went north and south, the other went east and west, and like that.
Yeah.
So they tried to get to us again. And then they yelled for me to come to just leave the wounded. Well, you don't do that.
No, you don't do that. No.
So I didn't do that. I wanted to, in the worst way, but you don't do that. So I stayed with them. They called in another airstrike, and it got really quiet. In fact, one of the funny parts of it was I failed math when I was in high school.
Yeah.
And the jet comes in, and he's flying right over this little path. We could count the rivets on his wing.
Okay.
And he let go of the napalm, like right over our head.
Oh, wow.
I mean, he let it go. It was right there. Now, I'm thinking it's going to fall straight down because B-52s, you see the sticks going straight down.
Uh-huh.
Well, height and speed and distance and all of that meant it hit about 100 yards away from us.
Wow.
And I was very happy about that.
Yeah, I can imagine.
But... that happened, then it got real quiet. And so I carried them to a safe place, and I checked the area. There was a couple hooches and a couple holes and stuff, so I went in there and I checked those out, made sure that they were relatively safe and could be. And I tried to find our guys, and they were back a little bit, and I got them, and then we went back out and got our wounded and brought them back in.
Wow, yeah. I've only been danger close a couple of times, but for our listeners, danger close is basically artillery or any ordnance that's being dropped. I think it's like 200 meters is danger close, and that's within that. If you're within that 200 meters, that's kind of a spot that you don't want to be in.
Yeah, there's I think back then I probably would have had a mild TBI. Traumatic brain injury, because I bled out of my nose a little bit. And I still have ringing in my ears. It's been going on now. It's gotten worse as I got older. Yeah. Which is just a joy. I never have a quiet day.
No, I know the feeling. I'm actually I'm a combat veteran myself, and I have one of the injuries I have is tinnitus. Yeah. And it's hard to get used to. Yeah. But
and I'm a diabetic, so when my sugar's down, my tinnitus goes up.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's just a joy.
I didn't know that happens.
Yeah. Yeah, so watch yourself.
Yeah, I'll definitely do that. Yeah, wow, that's incredible. I was thinking on the way here, I read your citation, and I mean, it's kind of that kind of quality, that selflessness that, you never leave a man behind, no matter what. You just, you do your best to get to him, bring him back. That's kind of even though the award that you receive for your actions is pretty rare. Mm-hmm. It's not very common. Actually, that trait of the unselfishness is actually pretty common within military members.
That's our ethos. That's what we do.
Yeah.
You take guard duty. I mean, I got closer to people I served with in Vietnam, still am, than probably am to a lot of my family. Yeah. Because you develop that bond. It's that old thing of I have to put my life in your hands. Yeah. And yours and mine.
Yeah, exactly. I know exactly how that is, and I've been in a couple casualty evacuation situations. I was infantry, so a very combat oriented job. I mean,
Oh
that's
yeah.
essentially the job itself is combat, and I'm sure you can relate to this being, even though you're a radio operator, you were infantry.
Well, I was infantry before I carried
Yeah.
the Prick
But
25.
yeah. But I mean, when that happens, it's kind of an almost instantaneous thing. That's your first instinct
Yeah.
is to save your guys.
Yeah. Well, before I only carried the radio for about a month.
Yeah.
Probably less than that, actually. I was just another grunt. I carried, when I first got there, they now call it, I think, the M203. It's a
203, yeah.
M16 with a grenade launcher underneath. Back then it was the XM79. It's
Okay.
the exact same thing. It was just experimental. I
Yeah.
carried that. And then I went straight to the Thumper, with the 79 grenade launcher.
Okay.
And I carried that for a while. And I really wanted an M16 because I just felt kind of naked out there with just one shot,
Yeah.
even though it made a big boom,
Yeah.
So I carried that in a 45 for a while. And then I traded a Vietnamese for I forget what I traded them, but I wanted a Thompson submachine gun because they really look cool in the movies.
Oh yeah.
Not so much fun to hump. Yeah,
I can imagine. Are they? They're. Oh, I know the Thompsons. They're usually they have a drum on them, don't
No,
they?
this one had long magazine.
Oh, it had
They
the
fire
long
a 45 caliber.
Okay.
And you carry a kind of a breastplate, and in there you have for all your magazines.
Yeah.
Well, I'm carrying the 79 with about 35, 40 rounds of HE and Willie Peter and all that white phosphorus,
Yeah.
which will light everything on fire.
Oh yeah.
And then I'm carrying the
messy stuff.
Thompson, because I wanted some firepower when I couldn't use my Thumper.
Yeah.
And I carried that for about 3 days, and I said, get rid of this because it ain't no fun to carry.
No. Yeah, that's you kind of have to pick your battles with that as far
Yeah.
as I mean, some of the stuff's necessary to carry, like your radio would be
Yeah.
necessary to carry, but I mean, in combat, it's the lighter the better.
Yeah, the radio was, I carried that, and of course you have to carry a lot of smoke grenades, and that you walk behind your lieutenant.
Yeah.
So that got to be fun. So,
Yeah.
And it's kind of like you're an aide to your LT, you got to take care of his maps and all of that.
Make sure he doesn't get lost.
Yes, and lieutenants will get lost.
They will. Yep. Yeah, that's funny that's still kind of relevant because that's kind of like the inside joke. It's really not much of an inside joke. It's kind of actually well known, but it's kind of like the stereotypical new lieutenant. He's just
most dangerous thing in combat is lieutenant with a map.
yeah, that's right. Yeah, we say the exact same thing.
So nothing's changed.
No, not at all. Technology's changed, obviously, but now we don't even really carry compasses anymore. It's all GPS.
Wow.
So I think my squad leader had it was like a wristband, and it had our GPS coordinates on it.
Jeez. We had a lieutenant, and he'd get lost. Rice paddies all look the same.
Yeah.
So every now and again he'd call for smoke with a high streamer so he could look and see where the smoke was coming in. So, okay, this is my grade coordinates, and he'd take a laze on that with his compass, and away we'd go.
Yeah.
And a little while later he'd call for another one.
Yeah.
But guys got some better technology. We had no night vision.
Yeah.
You just became so freaking aware of everything that was going on.
Mm-hmm.
Night vision must be nice.
Yeah. Looking back on it, I mean, not really realizing that there were people that obviously there were people that didn't have it before previous generations, but I think we kind of took it for granted. To us, it was just kind of a burden, almost. It was just and we were always wanting the next best equipment,
Yeah.
and I think we got kind of spoiled. Even though I was a Marine, so we notorious.
Happy birthday.
Yeah, tomorrow.
Yeah.
November 10th.
Was it 275?
Gee, I should know that, but I don't know off the top of my head. I think you're right. I think it might be 275. Yeah, any of my Marine Corps fans they'll
let you know.
They're gonna let me know. But I mean, we were kind of notorious for getting hand-me-down equipment. Most of the times, it was from the Army.
Oh yeah. What you couldn't steal from us, you
Yeah.
stole from us.
Yeah. we would get that was basically our weapons contracts. Army would get new equipment, and then we would get whatever.
Yeah, you get our old equipment.
Yeah.
Well, I thought that was fair.
Hey, yeah, we made the most of it, I guess.
Yeah,
but,
well, you guys know how to improvise and make things work.
Yeah. Yeah, a lot of times we didn't do it on purpose, but we sure knew how to use that equipment too.
Yeah.
To the point where it broke. There's a lot of the stuff you didn't think you wouldn't think would break, like a 203. Well, a 203 is actually pretty important. We took care of those, but some of the radios and some of the optics and stuff like that, they would tell us, "Oh, you guys aren't going to break it," and then a week later, it's like, "No, it's broken because we were just rough on it."
Yeah.
And
well, combat will do that. It'll definitely put equipment through its paces. I know we had our night vision devices were starlight scopes, and they were usually assigned to a sniper.
Okay.
We had some different people that would use those, especially in an area where we would set up for the night. And I know we had some guys in my platoon that went up on a helicopter and with an M14 and with a starlight scope on it to snipe at some of the VC that were playing around in that.
Mm-hmm.
So we really liked those kind of things. They were very useful to us.
Yeah. Speaking of stress on equipment, even though we're not equipment, I guess you could say, but being grunts, I think you guys call them legs, or boots on the ground. Essentially, we're tools of combat.
Exactly.
So with combat comes stress on equipment, stress on the individual.
Yeah.
Have you seen over the past? Geez, it's been almost 40 years now. Over 40 years now since
50 will be next year.
50 since Vietnam. Have you seen an improvement in the quality of care that veterans have received?
Yeah, when I came back, we were treated, if we had any post-traumatic stress disorder, it was treated more as anxiety reaction, or they'd throw in like undifferentiated skits if you were having flashbacks and things like that. And then about 78, 79, somebody came out with, wait a minute, I'm seeing a lot of this in combat veterans, especially from Vietnam. Mm-hmm. And they started seeing people with flashbacks and, startle reaction, which I had pretty bad. Mm-hmm. And different things, anger issues and stuff like that. And so they came up with PTSD, which was originally post-traumatic stress syndrome, because it encompassed depression and anger and so many other things. Mm-hmm. And then they came up with, a post-traumatic stress disorder. And then they wanted to make it politically nice, and so they called it post-traumatic stress because we can't have a disorder. It still is a disorder, and it's still nasty, and it still hurts.
Yeah, definitely.
And, so I saw a lot of different types of treatment. I was in treatment myself for a number of years because of it. It's just something you have to learn to live with.
Absolutely.
You have to, and what I did, and because I worked for the VA for quite a long time, I decided that it was not going to become my PTSD. It was going to become PTSD, and it's my enemy. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to fight it like an enemy, and that's what I do. Whenever I'm having issues with it, whenever having stress stuff going on, and that, I fight it like it's a real enemy. Yeah. I do everything I can to defeat it.
And everyone kind of develops their own ways of combating PTSD. I know I have PTSD myself, and I have different, I wouldn't call them tricks, but different things that help me through. What would you say is your biggest asset as far as combating PTSD?
Well, when I was really having some issues with it, I was kind of indwelt. I was very selfish, self-centered. Mm-hmm. It was all about me. And what I found is that the more I focus on other people, the more I do for other people, the less I focus on me. Yeah. So I've got a foundation that's now part of Operation Support Our Troops America that helps veterans that are in need. Wow. And so what we do is we'll take a veteran that has fallen on hard times. Now it's not a handout; it's a hand up. And our criteria is it's veterans helping veterans help themselves. Okay. So it's not just, gee, give me some money, help me out. Yeah. It has to solve the problem. But I found that by doing that, I worked as a veterans benefits counselor for a number of years. Mm-hmm. I did appeals before the VA. And as long as I kept, focusing out of myself, mm-hmm. And I even put that in with my wife and my kids, that when I made myself the center of everything, then all of the negative stuff of PTSD would come in on me. I'd get depressed. I'd get, go through other issues that I'm sure everybody else goes through.
Yeah.
And, when I started saying, no, I'm going to put them first, then I became less and my problems became less.
Yeah.
Which actually made me grow better,
Yeah, absolutely.
So I found that that's probably, if I was going to give one tip, that would be it. Don't focus on yourself, focus on others.
I agree 100%. That's my personal attitude towards it as well. I was actually, when I first came home, it was, like you said, it was all about me. I would internalize everything. I would drink. I would, I wasn't self-destructive, but essentially I was kind of selfish. I was just, focusing on me and what I need to do to just get through the day. And then just in the past couple of years, I started working with different veteran organizations in the area and helping people in that way. And that's helped me so much. I still struggle from time to time, but it's a lot better. I found it's a lot better helping others than it is trying to kind of solve it on my own, because then in turn by helping others, I'm kind of helping myself in a way.
Yeah.
That kind of sounds weird, but I think it kind of boils down to just being productive.
Yeah.
Doing something.
You're focusing on someone that has, if you're working with kids, you find those kids that have gone through a lot in their life.
Yeah.
And you help them out, and suddenly your problems aren't that big.
Yeah.
And I think it's kind of like anything else. The more you give, the more you get. And it doesn't work. It doesn't make sense that works that way, but it does.
Yeah, absolutely. I see that 100%. But yeah, we're gonna end on that note. I'm gonna put your.
Well, I want to give you my coin.
Oh wow.
And my motto is on that: others, not self.
Others, not self.
And
that's
I put
perfect.
that on there because that's really what got me out of some very rough situation.
That is perfect. Yeah, that coincides exactly with what you're saying, what works with me, that I found. Yeah, wow, thank you very much. Thank you for being on the show.
Well, thanks for your service.
Thank you. This is an honor. Well, that's it for this week. Be sure to visit Sergeant Alan Lynch's website, the ajlynchfoundation.org. I'll also be putting the link in the description of this video. This episode and all other episodes are brought to you by the Times of Northwest Indiana, as well as nwi.com/podcast. Be sure to visit Hoosier Heroes on Facebook. And as always, I'm your host, Andrew Hasty. And thank you all so much for listening. Stay tuned for the next episode. See you next time.